another one. Uh, going to be doing the very last Timothy Dalton here. Timothy Dalton Bond movie. And then we move on to the modern Bonds. But we'll get to that. But this is License to Kill 1989. This is a movie that has the longest gap between times that I've seen it. And I think I've only seen License to Kill like once. Um, and this is, I'll give my review for it at the end, but this is definitely it's a wow film. Um, there won't be a whole lot of pictures on this one. Usually I point up and show a picture. And there's not going to be a lot of that in this one because this was such a straightforward film that there's not a whole lot for me to bounce into. There's actually not a whole lot of huge cast in it, besides the fact that in this movie you're going to watch it and you're going to say, oh, I recognize that guy, and oh, I recognize that guy. It's full of that guys. You see a bunch of people that are like, I recognize him from somewhere. And I mean, there's a ton of that in this movie. It's basically, if you can think of an 80s action film, this has someone from it. Like, we have people from Die Hard, people from Lethal Weapon. We have people from everything in here. It's crazy. But we are 2 hours and 13 minutes in on this movie. That is a full-blown American movie. This is not a British movie. This takes place in America for the most part and has an American villain. It's kind of weird. This is director John Glenn's final directed James Bond movie. This is Timothy Dalton's final James Bond movie at the age of 43. We have Pam Bouvet as one of our Bond girls, and Lupe Lamora. You never really hear her last name, but that is her last name. Our villain is Franz Sanchez, who is basically like Scarface, pretty much. Yeah, this is Bond versus drug dealers again. There's really no Bond car. He drives a Kenworth 18-wheeler in this, and that's it. Our song is License to Kill by Gladys Knight. We're going to jump in. This was not supposed to be Dalton's last outing as Bond. He was actually supposed to play Bond again, and they even had the movie title. They had it written out, everything, and it was Property of a Lady. He was supposed to play Bond about 2 years after this, but the WB or not WB, MGM was having some legal trouble with Bond and other things, and it caused a severe delay from 1989 all the way to 1994. So you have him at what? He would have been 47, 48, Timothy Dalton. He would have been 47, 48 doing this. Sorry, I gotta plug in my computer. If he would have waited until 94, but when 94 came around, Timothy Dalton was just like, I don't want to do this. The gap has been too small. I don't want to be a Bond this old. And they're like, oh, okay. So they automatically started casting the next one, but they just said, let's not do Property of a Lady because that was written for Timothy Dalton. Let's do something else. So no Property of a Lady here. And this is also the very first PG-13 Bond. Pretty much because the PG-13 thing didn't come around until the 80s. So this was the first Bond made in the era of PG-13. Because a few of them would have been PG-13 anyway. Not all of them. Most of them would have stayed PG. But this is every bit of PG-13. This is a gritty, raw, I would almost say brutal Bond. This is I like brutal and realistic, gritty Bond. Spoiler alert, I'm a huge fan of the Daniel Craig Bonds, and I know that right there automatically made some of you hit the stop button because I have known more people that hate Daniel Craig as Bond than I know that like him. And it's because of the realism and the grittiness. Like, oh, well, James Bond is supposed to be fun. And it's like, yeah, they are fun, but they're gritty and violent. And it's like, if you read the source material, read the book, read any of the books, he is not a jokey, fun person. He is a gritty, raw spy. That is the source material. That is the way James Bond was created. He was supposed to be this gritty, just horrible like raw, brutal person. And then Roger Moore came along, and because he played Bond the most, people automatically associate that Bond with him. And Bond's like, oh, he's supposed to be a fun-loving guy. Watch some of the Connery ones. Watch On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Watch these two movies, and then you'll see Bond is not supposed to be a joke. But I digress. You know, people love Roger Moore. You know, he's just not my cup of tea. So we're gonna jump right into the movie. The open is Bond and Felix with a few other people. One guy is kind of important to the plot, but we'll get to that. They're just kind of driving in a car and they're in tuxedos, and we find out that they're headed to Felix's wedding. Okay, cool. We're going to Felix's wedding, and a helicopter stops the car, and they're like, Felix, we need you to come with us. And Bond's like, I'll go with you. He's like, well, okay, but you're just going to go as an observer. Like, all right. And they fly off, and everyone's like, what about the wedding? He's like, just tell her I'll be there in a minute. And they fly off, and we're wondering where he's going. There's some kind of emergency. Okay, and then we cut to, we meet Franz. Ooh, yeah, that guy's recognizable. That is Robert Dobby. He was in, I'm betting that most of you know him from the Goonies. He played the brother that sang. He was also in Die Hard as one of the outside agents, the FBI agents that come in and take over in the helicopter. He's with the African American fellow. They're flying around in the helicopter, who the African American fellow is also in this movie as a cop. He's on Bond's side. So, Robert Dobby, actually a great actor. And this dude, he plays basically Scarface. That's who he plays. He's a cocaine kingpin, and he's basically a budget Scarface. He's the Kmart version of Scarface. He's not Scarface. Scarface is the luxury deluxe edition that you pay a little extra for. This guy is the one that you get in the clearance aisle. He's a great actor, don't get me wrong, and it's a cool character. It's just, it's almost like he's trying too hard to be Scarface. He's even kind of got the accent. Not really, but we automatically show how brutal he is, because he walks in on his girlfriend Lupe, beautiful woman. She was in Mortal Kombat. I think she played Katana in Mortal Kombat. That really bad movie that is so cheesy it's good. Also, Shang Tsung is in this movie. The guy who played Shang Tsung, he's in this movie. So we got two Mortal Kombat people in here. But we show his brutality because she is in bed with another man, and he doesn't kill her, but instead he takes this whip and just whips the crap out of her, bends her over his knee and just whips the crap out of her. And while in normal Bond movie they'd be like, oh, he's whipping the girl because but no, this is brutal. This is awful, and you feel for this girl. It's like, whoa, okay, so this guy is mean. We cut to Felix's wife. She's on her way to the wedding. What? Felix isn't going to be there, and she finally looks up at the camera, and something I didn't know, it's freaking Priscilla Barnes. Priscilla Barnes from Three's Company, Devil's Rejects. It's Priscilla Barnes. I was like, well, I didn't even know it. And this is not the most blown away I was in this movie. There's all these people show up in this movie, and I'm like, I know that person. That's really cool. I'm sure it'll happen some more later down the line, because it's been a while since I've seen some of the 90s Bonds. But, it's freaking Priscilla Barnes. Cool. And we find out where Bond and Felix went. They went to raid Franz Sanchez. They're going to raid his compound. And they're raiding it, but Franz is getting away on his plane, and they get in their little copter, and they're chasing. It's a plane and a copter chase, and Bond rappels down with a cord, wraps it around the back of the plane, and they capture him. They got his plane. They're dangling him from the helicopter, and they have caught the bad guy. All right, cool. What happens now? Well, Bond and Felix jump out of the plane with their parachutes, and they parachute into the wedding in one of the more Bond things of the movie. and we're in the wedding. Everyone's yay, and it's just go straight to the title sequence, which is, I don't know. It was a cool entrance. It's probably not going to make my top 5, but because of it didn't really feel like a Bond entrance, but until the very end with the parachuting. But because Felix was involved, which is a really weird reason to take points off, but because Felix has been a huge part of this series, it's Felix Leiter. He is in several of these movies, but it just didn't feel right. But we get one of the more 80s 80s intros with silhouettes of women and everything. It's very Bond imagey. It's generic almost. You see women with the guns and all that, and it's like cool. And then they got this 80s R&B track, "License to Kill" by Gladys Knight, playing in the background. You're like, all right, which it wasn't supposed to be Gladys Knight. They actually got Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton was supposed to do it. Oh, imagine Eric Clapton doing a Bond song. I'm not the hugest Eric Clapton fan. I'm more of a metal guy, but that would be pretty cool. Eric Clapton's a freaking legend. So, but that's it. We're done. We're into the movie, and it's very okay. We get to finally meet Franz Sanchez because he's being interrogated. We jump right in. We go from the wedding straight with the intro, and we're in the same day. We're just maybe hours later, and Franz is being interrogated. He's just and he is a tough guy. He's not really taking it seriously. He's just like, I'm going to be out of here before you know it anyway. I ain't worried about it. And he's smug, and they're like getting mad at him. They're starting to threaten him, and Robert Dobby was so good at this role. This is a true story. He was on vacation once I forget where he was, but he was on vacation, and he was kidnapped, like literally really kidnapped in real life, by drug peddlers. And of course, Robert Dobby thought he was going to die, but they took him to the drug kingpin, and the drug kingpin kidnapped him only to tell him he played a great drug lord and he did a good job in License to Kill, and then let him go. Dude, that's pee-pee pants time. You get taken to a drug lord, and just so he can say, yo, you did a good job as a drug lord. All right, see you. What? Oh, I didn't even know that. I read that yesterday, and I was just like going through some, like looking up some facts and stuff like that. Like, oh, I wonder what anything cool happened, because the only thing I knew was the spooky crap that happened on set near the end of the movie, which we'll get to. But that's the only thing I knew. And then I read this, and it's like drug lord kidnaps Franz, and I'm like, what? It's a true story apparently. But we are actually into the reception now, where we kind of meet Pam. She's not really talked to. She's not really talked about. You don't really. You just hear her name. You just hear the name Pam Bouvet. But she doesn't talk. She gets up and walks away. So we get to meet her a little better later. And during the reception, Franz escapes. It's like, oh no, Franz has escaped. And no one knows he's escaped yet, but he's gone. But we're at the reception still, and we get this moment, which I liked, where Bond has been hanging out with Felix and Priscilla Barnes' character. Her name's Della. He's been hanging out with Felix and Della. They give him this cool lighter with an inscription on it, and she has her that little thing that goes on the leg. I forget what it's called. I'm sure someone knows, but it doesn't matter. She takes it off her leg, and she's like, you know what they say, the man who catches this is getting married next. And she's like about to hand it to Bond, and Bond just kind of shuts down. He's like, no, I'm good. And he just starts walking away. He's like, no. And she throws it to him, and he catches it, and he kind of gives her this little, smile, and gets in the car and drives off. And she's like, looks at Felix, did I do something wrong? And he was married once, a long time ago. And it's like they called back to On Her Majesty's Secret Service again. They do that a lot, which is a testament to how important On Her Majesty's Secret Service is to this series. You see that Bond is a broken man because he was married at one time and his wife was murdered. So we get that, and that's actually going to have a little something to do here. But yeah, he's out of there, and they're going to go have their honeymoon and everything. They're in the boudoir, and they shut the door, and boom, two henchmen are in there with guns. It's like, oh no, what's going to happen? But when the door shuts and you see the henchmen, I'm like, wait a second, there's no way. And it's Benicio del Toro. The Benicio del Toro plays Dario. They only mention his name once, but his name's Dario in this. Benicio del Toro. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Sicario, The Usual Suspects. He played the collector in the Marvel movies. Like, this dude is like Oscar-worthy talent. And he is 21 years old here. He's the youngest Bond henchman ever. And there he is, Benicio del Toro. And I'm like, I had no idea he was in this. I was like, that's Benicio del Toro. That's awesome. Because I love Benicio del Toro. But yeah, there he is. Usual Suspects, man. It's a great film. So we're in there, and we don't know what happens. We only know that something bad happens because they got guns on him. You're like, oh, and it kind of backs off, and I guess it skips time forward because we see that one of the guys in the car, one of the cops, who was in Under Siege 2 Dark Territory. I forget his name. I don't know the actor's name, so I can't really look him up. And they mentioned his name once or twice, but it was like he's kind of a non-entity. Besides the fact that he betrayed Felix, he was used to show how brutal Bond can be. But we found out that they paid him $2 million to betray Felix. Okay, cool. He $2 million, and he's headed out, and he walks up to Felix tied up, and he's like, "Sorry, man, $2 million is a lot of money." And Felix is like, how dare you? And they feed him to sharks. They like lower him into a shark tank, and the shark bites his leg off, and you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. Good Lord. And Bond is about to leave, and he's about to go off on his next mission, but he runs into the airport, and the lady's like, "Oh, did you hear that drug lord escaped?" And he's like, and he runs off, and he goes to Felix and Della's house, finds Della dead, and then he finds a body wrapped up. He knows who it is, and he's like, oh man. He opens it up, and it's Felix, and Felix has a note attached to him that says he disagreed with something that ate him. It's like, oh man, this is crazy, but Felix is alive. He's like, okay. So he takes him to the hospital. Felix survives, but it's just a horrible thing. And he's like, all right, well, that's a shark bite. We're going to go to the aquarium and find out who sells great white sharks, which actually no one does, because that's not something that people can exactly sell. But he goes to the aquarium, and he finds drugs in the aquarium. He finds a bunch of bricks of cocaine. He's like, oh, so this is what it's about. All right. And we go straight up into gunfight. What are you doing here? How dare you? We're fighting. And the betrayer comes out. He's like, yeah, it was $2 million, man. That's a lot of money. But sorry, Bond, you got to die. And he opens up the shark tank, but Bond kind of gets the better of it and throws the money at it, or like has him hanging. And he's like, okay. He's like, dude, I'll give you $1 million if you save me. And Bond just throws the money at him and kills him. And it's super cold-blooded. It's not like Bond's like feeding time. There's no quips. There's no jokes. He just straight out murderizes the guy. And this is what Timothy Dalton's Bond was. He was the cold-blooded, angry Bond. This is not charming Bond. This is just cold-blooded. I mean, Bond is charming and charismatic in the books, but he's also brutal. And this is kind of why Timothy Dalton's probably going to be last on my list of Bonds. And it's because he's just brutal. He's great as any grizzled 80s cop, but he's not a British super spy. He's not James Bond. Because he's just not charming or charismatic enough. So going in there, we learn a few things. that Bond, and now Bond knows where to find him. Everything's cool, and he goes to British intelligence. British intelligence is like, yeah, you can't do that. This is an American problem. You need to leave because this has nothing to do with you, Bond. And he's like, yeah, but they killed Felix. And he's like, don't. He's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. American problem. This has nothing to do with us. And Bond's like, well, screw it, then I resign. And it's like, all right, well, then give me your gun, and your license to kill is revoked. And that was the original title of the movie, was License Revoked. The only reason why they didn't go with that is because there was a book out at the same time, another Bond book written by someone other than our boy Ian Fleming. It was written by someone else, and it was called License Renewed, and they didn't want the two books to be the book and the movie to be confused, so they changed it to License to Kill, which he no longer has. So now he just can't go around murderizing people. But he finds the I guess hideout of it, and he's going there. He's going out there. He leaves. He's like searching around, and he just brutally murders a guy with a harpoon. And it's not even. It's another one of those where it's there's no funny thing. There's no quip. There's no one-liner. He just shoots a guy with a harpoon, and it's very brutal and cold-blooded. Just merciless. But we find out that he dives in after the guy and steals his air tank, and he's gonna go hide because now all the bad guys are after him, and he's under the water, and the bad guys are after him. And he's doing this right in the middle of a drug, it's like a drug transaction. They're giving Franz $5 million for a bunch of bricks of cocaine. This is like the weirdest Bond because I've never enjoyed a Bond where he's after drug dealers. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't do it for me. Bond should be going after guys who want to blow up the world, not guys who want to get people high. So, but he actually finds the drugs under the water. He swims down there, finds them, takes out his knife, and just starts stabbing him Chucky style. Just, and you just see it powdering up, so he's destroying the drugs. And he gets chased after by a bunch of the henchmen, and he has this plane going overhead, and he like shoots it with a harpoon. The harpoon goes in, it brings him up, and he's like skiing behind the plane, which is the second and last Bond moment. Like, this is the last time we see Bond as Bond in this movie. The rest of it's just gritty. But he's like skiing behind it, and he catches up and he steals the plane, killing the two guys inside, the two pilots, throwing them out of the plane. There's money flying everywhere. He has just stolen $5 million. Actually, it's like $4 million and change because one of them opens up in the plane and just flies out the window. So he now has money. But he steals the plane, and then he meets up with our girl Pam, where we learn a little bit more about her, where she is kind of an informant, and she's kind of a badass. She's up there with my favorite Bond girls because she doesn't play around. Like the Dario and another henchman walk in, and she's like, "Oh, I hope you have a gun because Dario's here." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I got a gun." She's like, "What is that?" He pulls out like the PK, and he's like, "Yeah, I got a gun." And she's like, and under the table, she has a big ass shotgun, and it's like, "All right, dude." And she beats up henchmen. She gets shot. She gets shot in the back, but she's wearing a Kevlar vest, so it didn't hurt her. And she's kind of cool, man. I like this one. But they escape on a boat. And then automatically it's Bond, so they start doing the deed. They start kissing and stuff, and then they go down to the bottom of the boat. And it's like, okay, well, that's one for the love count. And then we see we get a scene with Moneypenny, and it's not funny Moneypenny. This is just Moneypenny looking for Bond. This is the only time we see Moneypenny. This is the last time we see this Moneypenny. Yeah, this is the last time she played Moneypenny, and so she's going. She's good. But this Moneypenny was like, me, that's all right. They go to a casino because he's gonna get Franz's attention by spending his money, and he's like losing money on purpose and then gaining it back, a lot of it. And Lupe comes down and starts being the dealer to find out information because Fran's like, yo, find out who this dude is. And she goes down there, but they already know each other. And they're like talking back and forth, like, you need to get out of here. And he's sending Pam away. He's like, Pam, go get me a drink. Dry vodka martini, shaken, not stirred. She's like, but I just get. I gotta talk to her. And it's like, she's going along, and she's like super jealous of Lupe. This is the first, I think this is the first love triangle I've seen in a Bond movie. And Pam's over there watching them like, whatever. And she orders him a drink, and she says, yeah, he needs a dry vodka martini, shaken, not stirred. And I'm like, did you have to make the hand motion? Because that was suggestive. But whatever. And they're going at he leaves. He's not leaving. He's like, no, we gotta go fix this. Cool. And they're riding in an elevator, and it's one of the funnier moments, and I don't think it was meant to be funny, but she's like going up, and she like tears the bottom of her dress off, and we find her, she has a thigh gun, and she pulls it out, and it's like this tiny little, it's like this big, and like she hands it to Bond, and Bond's like, yeah. And it's like so little, and he just looks at it, and you're like, wow. This is the tiniest gun I've ever seen. Had to been like, if there's a caliber lower than 22, it had to be. It was like a pea shooter. I'm pretty sure that thing shot little yellow pellets. Pew pew. But she pulls out one out of her purse, and it's like, oh, okay, this woman is loaded. So he gets his. We meet Q. Q gives him a few gadgets to play with. They're not like super like, oh, this pin, if you push the button here, you call on an atomic bomb, or you get a laser that goes pew. There is a laser involved whenever, and she almost kills Pam almost kills Bond and Q with it. It's like a little Polaroid camera, and he's like, don't hit that button, and the laser shoots out. But you don't see much of that. But he gives him toothpaste and a pack of cigarettes, and it's C4 and a detonator. Like, all right, cool, I like this. And he actually uses it because he finds the compound. He sees Franz. He's like, I'm gonna take him out. And and the camera gun, which I'll get to. But he puts the toothpaste on the bottom, puts the cigarette to the C4 with a detonator in there, and he goes up to it. And he's like, he's gonna shoot him. And he has this video camera that only he can use his gun. If anyone else uses it, it's a video camera. But Q has set it to James Bond's prints, so it says who James Bond is, and then he turns it into a gun. It's a sniper rifle, and he's going to take out Franz. But then ninjas come out of left field, and they beat him up and take him. But on the way in, the bomb explodes, and it takes out the ninjas. One of the ninjas is Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat, and it takes out the ninjas and Bond. And Bond wakes up in this palace. Beautiful palace, and he's like, what the hell? And he's like getting up trying to get dressed. He doesn't know what's going on, and Franz comes in there, and Franz and Bond had met earlier in the film, and Bond kind of told him, hey man, what if I join up with you, trying to get and infiltrate, and the guy's like, yeah, we'll see about that. So now he wakes up in this palace, and you're like, what is going on? And Franz thinks, or he's going to find out. He's like, well, what happened? Why did my compound explode? And Bond was like, they tried to kill you, and I tried to stop them. And he told him that the ninjas, he's like, yeah, they were going to kill you, and I stopped them. And so now Bond and Franz are buddies. They're working together. It's like, okay, he's finally infiltrated the thing. He thinks Bond's on his side. And he finds out Franz has the DEA in his pocket, because he's like, he owns like a bunch of missiles, and he's like, I will shoot down an American airline if you don't back off and let me sell my drugs. And it works. So, but Bond, he's going to start taking out Franz's crew from the inside. And it kind of works. He takes out one of his top guys in a pressure chamber. He makes it look like the guy stole money, and Franz throws his own guy in a pressure chamber, and in an extremely violent thing, the guy's head explodes. He puts him in a pressure chamber, and his head inflates and then explodes, and it's pretty violent. And I'm like, damn, dude, the hell. but he goes to where they make the drugs. He gets to tour where they make the drugs, but unfortunately Dario's there. Benicio del Toro's there, and he's like, "Yeah, I know that guy." And they start fighting, and yeah, there's a point where they're like, "All right, well, we're just gonna kill him," because Bond sets off a gun, Bond, and he sets the place on fire. So he's like, "All right, well, we're gonna kill him," and they throw Bond on a conveyor belt that takes the drugs and grinds him up, and he's hanging there. He's tied up, hanging there. And this is a cool little tidbit. When Benicio del Toro or Dario is cutting the cord, he actually cut Timothy Dalton in real life, and Timothy Dalton required stitches. They had to halt production for a minute and then reshoot it. But he's hanging from there, and he gets saved by Pam. And Dario falls into the grinder, and in another rather violent death scene, he gets ground up. He's like, "Oh no!" And it's like lots of guts and stuff. And then they don't show the death, but they go around the corner and they find another one of the high-end henchmen, like impaled by a forklift. You just see him hanging there, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is a violent movie." So we're in there, and he ends up blowing up the compound. Bond just blows up the compound. He's like, "Screw it." And this is where our third act goes, and it's like, because Bond goes after Franz, and it's a really long car chase. They have a bunch of tankers, tanker trucks, like 18-wheelers with they're like flammable material, and there's a lot of explosions, and it's just, he's riding, it's crazy how much crap goes on here. But now, in one of the, here's what I was talking about earlier about all the crap that happened on the chase scene. This is insanity. Apparently, this stretch of road is haunted, and there are many reports of crew seeing people walking around, which weren't there. People were walking around. Bond was almost killed, or Timothy Dalton was almost killed by one of the explosions, and they had every safety precaution out there, and he still was almost killed. There's a point where Franz shoots a rocket, and the rocket went haywire. It was only supposed to go like 3 or 4 feet, and instead it went 20 and hit a guy on a telephone pole, and severely injuring him. And then the big one, on the stretch of road, on the turn, a long time ago, and this is the most, like, it's almost like a generic ghost story you tell children, but I looked it up, several sources, 100% true. There's a little turn, and there was a bus full of nuns that fell off the cliff, and they died. All of the nuns died. Okay, so what does that have to do with this? Well, when the big tanker blows up, and I looked this up, I'm not making this up, when the tanker explodes, big boom boom, boom boom boom, the camera's caught it, and you can't see it in the movie, and you can't see it if you freeze frame and go frame by frame. You can't see it. But there was a photographer that just so happened to be up on the hill taking pictures of the explosion, and he got this picture. Do you see the hand reaching down? And right where that hand is touching is where those nuns died. And that is insane. Me, personally, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in the supernatural, stuff like that. I'm sorry, I just don't. And I know I have, like, horror movie tats, and I wear horror movie shirts and stuff like that, and I love The Conjuring and all that. I just don't believe in that stuff, but that is some crazy coincidence. So, but that happened. So, we move on to a kind of a Bond thing. There's a big explosion. Bond's got to get away. He gets in a truck. He's got to get past it. If he drives through the flames, he doesn't have a windshield, so the flame will get in and burn him. So instead, he backs it up and moves forward and pops a wheelie and goes through the flames like that. And he actually does it. And you're like, whoa, cool, that's kind of cool. But it was a very 80s thing, and he pops the wheelie with it. There's a cool moment where one of the tanker trucks rolls down the hill and doesn't explode. In all these other Bond films, as soon as they hit the road, boom, they just explode. All right. And later it does, and it explodes, and it goes off the hill, and Pam's flying her plane through, and it almost hits her plane. It's a really cool action moment. But we go through, and at the end of it, Franz gets out. He's going to kill Bond. It's like, you have destroyed everything. I'm going to kill you. And he's like, okay. He's like, do you even want to know why I'm after you? And Franz like, yeah. He's like, yeah, go for it. And he pulls out the lighter that says love Felix and Della. And you're like, oh no. And he like hits the lighter, blows him up. Guy's on fire. He's dead. And that's the end of the bad guy. But then we get the last part. You got to get the love scene. And Lupe and Bond are talking. And they're like, yeah. And then Lupe kisses Bond. And Pam's over there. And Pam's like, she's like, she runs off crying. She's like, no. And she's hurt. And Bond is like, yo, nah, me, you, not where it's at. Have fun with the rich guy. And he hops over the balcony, lands in the pool, and gets to Pam. And they kiss and everything. He's like, nah, she's cool. And she kisses, and Lupe watches them kiss, and she's just like, oh well, I'm gonna go get with a rich guy. So, credits roll. That's the end of your movie. And yeah, I skipped through that as quickly as I could because there was a lot to it, and I know there wasn't a lot of pictures. I usually put a lot of pictures up, and I usually make more fun and everything, but this one was hard to make fun of because this was crazy. This was a straight up action film. So this is I'll go ahead and say it, 7 out of 10, which 7 out of 10, it's a high end 7 out of 10. And the only reason it didn't get an 8, because this really deserved an 8. But the only reason why it didn't get an 8 is because it didn't feel like a Bond film. It felt like Die Hard. It felt like Lethal Weapon. It felt like Under Siege. It felt like an 80s. I think Under Siege was 90s, but it felt like an 80s action film. I didn't feel a Bond presence here. Timothy Dalton was barely Bond. He was. It just didn't feel right. I mean, dang, Timothy Dalton was John McClane here. He wasn't James Bond. But it was like, if you watch this as not a Bond film, this easily is an 8 out of 10. But like I said, I'm rating these as Bond films, not as films themselves. So yeah, 7 out of 10. Kill count 10, love count 2. Yeah, you would think there would be a lot more deaths, but most of the people killed in this were killed by the bad guy. But yeah, not Timothy Dalton's probably going to be lower end because he did not feel like Bond. He felt like a typical 80s action star. But I digress, because the next episode, I don't know when it's going to air, because I don't know when I want to post it, because I don't know what I'm doing this weekend. So, but we go into the Pierce Brosnan era, which I'm going to go ahead and say it now. A lot of you are going to be very angry at me because, to me, I think the Pierce Brosnan and the Daniel Craig eras are peak Bond. Like, I love the old ones, don't get me wrong. Those are fantastic movies. And I would say that Goldfinger's probably going to be number 1 on the list. But man, these were good movies. Because you had the budget here, you had everything for these Bond movies to be something major. And these are the Bonds I grew up with. I was born in '83, so the first Bond I ever saw was Goldeneye, like in 1995. I think I actually saw it in theaters. And I mean, God, that I was 12 when I saw Goldeneye in theaters, and that was my first introduction to Bond. And I fell in love. I honestly didn't see one of the older ones until my late teens. I think I was 17 or 18 when I saw, I think From Russia with Love was the first Sean Connery Bond. And then I was like, oh, these are good, and started watching all of them. So Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig have they've got a soft spot. I got a soft spot for those guys. So I'm very excited to get into this next adventure for the Pierce Brosnan era and the Daniel Craig era. I'm still going to watch them objectively, but that's it. Martin Campbell directing. He actually directed Casino Royale as well, so he did both Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig's first. Pierce Brosnan coming in. We got Femke Janssen. Wow. As our Bond girl. And we have the highest kill count until I think Skyfall, because Skyfall has like over 200 people die in it. The Aston Martin is back, and we have Tina Turner singing the song. Oh, and the villain is the incredible Sean Bean. I'm going to have a lot of good facts for that one because while Pierce Brosnan was the first choice to play Bond in that, there were other people that were in the running. So, but this has been License to Kill. This has been a rather long episode, but that's okay. But thank you for watching. See you for Goldeneye.